Hello, welcome back to the next episode of Mr. Love Queen's Choice. We have a couple more Gavin dates left to do, so let's just get right to it. I've arranged to meet Gavin at the coffee house, but something has delayed him. Going looking for him, I discover a completely different side to him. This must be the cafe Gavin mentioned? I checked out the sign on the door and took a seat by the window. I took out the reports and started flipping through it. It's a summary of all the recent strange incidents in Loveland City. They were also source materials for the upcoming program. I had arranged to meet with Gavin and get a specialist perspective on the reliability of my sources. I arrived early at the cafe to prepare in advance. Outside the window, the streetlights were starting to light up, adorning the soft dusk. This part needs verifying. As I flicked through the documents while talking to myself, my phone went off. It's Gavin. Hello, I'm already at the cafe. Are you nearly here?
Sorry, something's come up.
There was a lot of background noise.
Wait for me at the cafe. I'll come over as soon as I can. It won't be long.
Before I could respond, he had already hung up. I put the phone down with puzzlement. The clamor on the other end of the line made me uneasy. The chimes at the door sounded as two young ladies entered the cafe. They were chatting quietly as they walked in my direction. That crowd was outrageous, picking on a boy like that. Lucky that handsome guy stepped in. He seemed to be good at fighting. The kid should be okay. I couldn't help overhearing their conversation. I immediately thought of Gavin and that phone call. My heart skipped a beat. I got up and approached the girls. Excuse me, that man you mentioned, was he about this tall? I gestured with my hands and inquired. As my speculations became confirmed, I felt more uneasy. After confirming the location, I grabbed my belongings and exited the cafe. 6 o'clock in the city, the streets were packed with traffic. Following the directions given by the ladies, I arrived at a secluded alleyway. There was a commotion coming from the far end. Sticking to the shadows, I snuck down the lane and peered around the corner. A familiar figure came into view. It's really Gavin? Under the yellow light from a street lamp stood Gavin, who was dressed in black from head to toe. Lying on the floor around him were 7 or 8 thugs. The next instant, Gavin unleashed a sharp sidekick at 2 assailants coming at him, who were then quickly beaten to the ground. He raised his hand and wiped his chin, then looked around at the prostrate figures with his eyes cold and full of disdain.
Is that all you've got?
Out of nowhere, a figure lunged towards Gavin's exposed back. Gavin, behind you! I blurted it out. My voice was soft, but it was loud enough to draw their attention. He looked over in my direction. The look he gave me was cold and focused. The next instant, he spun around and pinned his assailant against the ground. After getting up, Gavin cleverly blocked me from the man's sight. He narrowed his eyes and scanned the silent alleyway.
Get out of here.
Once the thugs fled away from the alley, Gavin walked over to where I was hiding.
What are you doing here?
2 girls in the coffee house told me there was a street fight. I thought you might be involved. But I should be asking you the same question. Was this a mission that suddenly came up?
No.
So what happened? I was confused. Gavin looked at me and glanced over at a street lamp.
I'll explain later. I have to be somewhere. Come with me.
Gavin started walking. As soon as I hurried to catch up, I noticed a graze on his arm. Hey, wait! I pointed to the wound and pursed my lips. Don't you want to take care of it first?
It's just a scratch. It's nothing.
He continued walking with a frown on his face before I could say any more.
That was really dangerous back there. If they...
I've been practicing those moves you showed me. I'm really good now. Look! I cut him off before he could finish and brought up my arms in front of my body, trying to appear more confident. Besides, you were there if anything went wrong. I gave him a sidelong glance. I couldn't quite read his expression. After a moment, he sighed.
Don't do it again.
Detecting the note of concern in his voice, I quickly nodded. We passed through a labyrinth of alleyways. The buildings became older and more derelict the further we went. Just as I was about to ask him where we were going,
We're here.
Gavin stopped at the front door of a modest bungalow. He was about to knock when a curtain was pulled to one side in the front window, revealing a bright face of a boy. Nana! Nana! Gavin's here! The boy shouted excitedly and flung open the door. He ran over to Gavin and latched onto his thigh, looking up at him adoringly. Gavin patted the boy on the head. An old lady came to the door with her face all smiles. Come on in. The house was small but well kept. The old lady offered us seats and busied herself getting us water.
Please, don't trouble yourself. We won't stay long.
Don't be silly. You said this last time, too. Thanks to you, my grandson wasn't hurt by those bullies. I'm getting old. I'm not much use anymore. She sighed and wandered off into the kitchen. Watching her from behind and the boy standing close to Gavin, I could vaguely guess what happened. We haven't had visitors in a long time. Can you play a game with me? The boy sounded very eager. Gavin looked up at me with some hesitation, so I quickly spoke up. Of course. Whoa, that's great. Thank you. I smilingly patted him on the head. But can you first tell me what happened earlier? It turned out that both of the boy's parents had passed away. He lived with his grandma, who sold candy for a living. Life was very hard for them. I was taking the unsold candies over to that old couple at the crossroads when those people started picking on me. Luckily, Gavin was right there, just like last time. He rolled his hands up into fists, with his eyes turning slightly red. But they wouldn't listen and started hitting him. But Gavin is a great fighter. Gavin, can you show me how to fight? I want to follow your example. The boy was looking up at Gavin expectantly. His eyes were filled with admiration. Gavin squirmed a little, and then sighed.
If you really want to learn, I can show you how to defend yourself.
The boy's eyes sparkled, and he jumped up and down excitedly. Gavin couldn't help smiling at his enthusiasm. The old lady returned, carrying a tray of drinks. I'm sorry. I hope we're not holding you up for your date. No. I shook my head, but the old lady just kept smiling at us. For some reason, the objection faded on my lips, and my heart rate quickened slightly. Shyly, I tilted my head to one side. I saw Gavin out of the corner of my eye. He was rubbing his neck, and his ears had gone slightly pink. The graze was still visible on his arm, but I had trouble reconciling the young man in front of me with the victorious street fighter I saw earlier. The evening breeze blew into the room, lifting a corner of the curtain and disrupting my train of thought. Gavin looked over at me. I smiled back mildly. Before we left, the old lady brought 2 very lifelike sugar figurines out of the kitchen. We have nothing of value to give you a thank you gift. Here, take these 2 candies. Please take them. It's okay. I politely refused, but she insisted. Realizing that she would not take no for an answer, I looked at Gavin, then reached out my hand. I'll just take 1 then. Here, I took it for you. I waved the sugar figurine in front of Gavin's face. He looked at me, clearly amused. We left and wandered back along the main road. The light from the street lamps was soft and romantic, pleasantly illuminating Gavin's profile. I couldn't keep my eyes off him.
What's wrong?
Huh? Nothing. He looked at me with puzzlement on his face. Suddenly he stopped his steps, as if something came to his mind.
Sorry. I promised to help you look at those documents. You've been waiting this whole time.
Surprised by Gavin's apology, I quickly waved my hands. No, what you did tonight was far more important. I do exactly the same thing if I saw people picking on a child. Plus, I've never seen this side of you before. Gavin gave me a sidelong glance and smiled warmly.
Really? It's no big deal. If you're in a hurry, we can call it a night. I can take a look at the report for you and send you my notes.
I shook my head and smiled. It's still early. I'm in no rush to get home. Besides, we still have to eat this, right? I started waving the sugar figurine around. Gavin then looked over.
True. It'll melt if we don't.
Go on, then. I shoved the candy in front of his face. Gavin was clearly surprised. His eyes widened, and he said nothing for a moment. After a second, he cleared his throat slightly.
On second thought, you eat it.
Don't be silly. I told you I took it for you. It's your reward for fighting those bullies today. A wooden bench came into view, and I ran over to it. Let's sit here for a bit, so that Officer Gavin can enjoy his candy in peace. Gavin was standing under a tree nearby. Behind him were cars and neon signs which lit up the night. He watched me with a gentle expression on his face, then walked over to the bench. He finally gave a helpless smile and took the sugar figurine out of my hand.
Okay, I get it.
Just as I was about to sit down, Gavin stopped me.
Wait a second.
What's wrong? He didn't answer, but bent over and started looking for something. I craned my neck, curiously. Finally, I saw the street lights reflected in a small patch of water on the bench. I felt around in my bag, then looked up to see Gavin's awkward expression. He cleared his throat.
You can sit. I'll stand.
I looked back at the bench and hesitated. Let's sit together. I sat down and shuffled along, leaving some room. Gavin didn't move. I took a deep breath and spoke, not daring to look at him. You need more room?
No. This is fine.
Gavin sat down next to me. The moon hung in the sky behind him, shrouding his body in an unearthly aura. The evening breeze rustled through the dense canopy above. It carried a scent to me, making me blush furiously. At hearing a crisp noise, I couldn't help looking over at him. There he was, dressed all in black with a bad graze on his arm, trying to figure out how to eat a sugar figurine. It was very amusing.
Do I look weird?
A blush crept over his ears.
Sugar figurines aren't really my thing. By the way, thank you for being so understanding tonight.
He stared at me quietly. The golden streetlight was falling softly on his face. His eyes shone like stars, tender as the night. The scenes from earlier in the night resurfaced before my eyes. The brutally efficient street fighter, the polite house guest, and this pathetic specimen bested by a sugar figurine. I've seen so many sides of you tonight. The words tumbled out of my mouth. How should I put it? You're like Jekyll and Hyde. Gavin paused for a moment, but then smiled faintly.
Maybe.
The one thing I'm not okay with from tonight is this. I pointed at his arm. Whatever happens, you've got to take more care of yourself. Don't get hurt again.
Understood.
Gavin's brows relaxed as he smiled. The stars flickered above us as a cool evening breeze whispered through the leaves. A night of tenderness had just begun. I sent Gavin a message to thank him, but he invited me to Furniture City. I saw his naughty side under a serious face. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I was just waking up, still exhausted after an all-night shoot the night before. As I raised my hand, the ginkgo bracelet on my wrist reminded me of the man who saved me that night. You can't just cancel like that. Hey! Willow looked at me anxiously after getting hung up on. The guest's not coming. What do we do? I rubbed my temples to compose myself. As I looked around, I saw that the whole crew was ready and waiting. I had invited this famous action director to give an interview for a fighting documentary we were shooting. It's definitely going to have a negative effect on the film and our brand if we cancel the shoot. What to do? And nearing the end of my rope, Gavin suddenly came to mind. Right, he may be able to help. Taking a chance, I made a call to Gavin. It rang a long time, and I was about to hang up when the call was picked up.
Hey, I'm here.
Soon Gavin arrived at the set. I felt quite guilty when I saw how tired he was. And Gavin seemed to read my mind and smiled at me.
I was hoping you'd call me, and not just when you're in danger.
Maybe it was because it was late and quiet, but his words sounded unusually loud. I froze as I watched Gavin walk into the spotlight. Gavin left soon after the shoot. When he did, I was focused on the monitors and didn't even have a minute to say thanks. When I remembered that, I sat up in bed and texted Gavin. I never had time to thank you for yesterday. I held the phone waiting for his reply, and before long I received one.
Don't mention it.
And then another soon after.
Any plans for the weekend?
His sudden asking like this took me a bit by surprise, but without thinking too much about it, I told him my plans. I gotta go to Furniture City to buy some kitchen stuff.
Cool. Then you can thank me in person.
In person?
I gotta pick up something too. I'll join you.
I thought about it, typed in OK, and hit send. As I put down the phone, a breeze blew through the window, lightly fanning me as I mused. Thinking back on what I've been through recently, it's like a dream. I never thought I'd see Gavin again after graduation. Not to mention spending the weekend with him. But it's just happening. Thinking about the coming weekend, I couldn't help feeling nervous. but with a little anticipation mixed in. That weekend, when I arrived at the furniture store, Gavin was already waiting for me. I picked him out in the crowd right away. Good morning, Gavin.
Morning.
Different from the Gavin who came out to the film set in the middle of the night, this Gavin, in broad daylight, seemed so full of vigor. I followed him carefully into the crowded store. So, what are you gonna buy?
A floor lamp.
Lighting's way in the back. Let's browse our way back there.
Okay.
Following the map, we arrived in the kitchenwares area. I became engrossed immediately, since that's what I was there for after all. Gavin, guess what this is? Seeing the perplexed look on Gavin's face, I couldn't help laughing as I explained to him. It's a mold for frying eggs. You can make a smiley face egg with it. Adorable, isn't it? The kitchenware here is also creative. Cooking with this stuff will be so fun.
Seems you love cooking.
Yeah, it's quite the hobby. I try new kinds of cooking all the time, although sometimes the results are a bit not great. What about you? Do you cook?
My meals are all either delivery or TV dinners.
Oh, that's no good.
I'm not picky about food.
Maybe you can try some of my cooking next time. I walked to a shelf and stood on my tiptoes to reach a pan at the top, but it was just out of reach. Just then, a pair of arms appear over my head. The tall figure standing behind me happened to trap me between him and the shelf. Such close contact sped up my heartbeat. Gavin easily grabbed what I was trying to get. My cheeks flushed as I felt the heat between us. Thank you. I walked from shelf to shelf and soon had every item checked off my list. I felt perfectly satisfied looking at the haul I had in my bag. But then, when I raised my head, I found I'd lost track of Gavin. So I headed back the way I came to find him. I called his name as I made my way through the crowded aisles.
Watch out!
From out of nowhere, Gavin pulled me into his arms. A shopping cart loaded with items passed by right where I was standing.
You okay?
Yeah, where have you been? Gavin waved a bunny hand puppet in front of me.
It looks a lot like you.
A bunny is so adorable. Gavin opened his hand and the bunny acted like it was going to give me a hug. That's a side of Gavin I'd never seen, the childish one. We continued on through the store and soon arrived at the lighting department. Different from previous displays, all the lighting was set up in model rooms, each with a particular style. What kind of lamp do you want?
Nothing special, just something that works.
Well, style is also important. What about that one? I took Gavin to a modern minimalist-style living room. I sat on the khaki-colored sofa and turned on the floor lamp. Warm light splashed my face. Think about it. You get home from a long day's work and sit on your cozy couch. And you're surrounded by soft yellow light. Feels warm, right? And under the couch, there's gotta be a white rug for your feet, so you don't get cold in the winter. Then you can make some coffee and read a book, or just watch TV if you don't feel like reading. And you can just leave the dishes there if you don't feel like doing them just now. A kind of simple but happy life. I kept laying out my ideal life without noticing Gavin had started to stare, his eyes full of warmth. Gavin. Gavin came to. What do you think of this one?
Looks good.
Looks good. Looks good. They all look good. Which one do you really prefer? I looked around for the next option as I talked. After going through the whole area, we still hadn't reached a decision. And I felt a bit tired after walking for hours. I sat on a bed in a bedroom display and lay down slowly. I closed my eyes to isolate myself from the surrounding noise. Suddenly I heard something. As I opened my eyes, it turned out to be Gavin, laying beside me. Ah! I looked away hastily when he looked at me, but he still caught me looking flustered. At that moment, I accidentally touched the switch of a floor lamp. As the lamp turned on, the room became starry sky. The swirling sea of stars against an azure blue backdrop took my breath away. Look! It's a star lamp! As I turned my head and looked Gavin in the eyes, I found that he had been staring at me the whole time. The stars were shining on his face, and his eyes were lit up like stars to match. He looked at me for a long time, his eyes revealing a kind of tenderness I'd never seen. My face started to get flushed, but as I tried to get up, Gavin grabbed my hand. He looked at the whirling, starry sky.
I want to stay with you. Just like this.
Oh. Later in life, I always think back on this day, the first time we did something so ordinary together. The first time I saw his childish side. The first time we talked about the future. That day, Gavin didn't buy a floor lamp like he wanted. I learned a long time later that he bought that star lamp for himself. Does he think back on that day like I do, whenever he sees a starry sky at home? All right, that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be back again soon. Take care.